So I asked him, like, what do you think of the name ZYRUP, which is like syrup with a Z, right? And he says, Joel, I hate it. So I said, you know what? I think that's my sign. You know, if you hate it, means it's good for me.
Hey, I'm Ronnie from AMC Studio. This is a podcast where we dig and dive deep into the scene and the culture of what it means to be in the media industry and hear from people who have had a hand in building it. Welcome to Tea Talk with AMC Studio. Today we have Joel Lim with us, founder of media collective ZYRUP and project manager at Now Academy, constantly laying the bricks for creatives today. The Info-encer is far from stranger to podcasts, with shows like Naughty Prude, Political Prude, and even his YouTube talk show, I Have a Question. Thank you for joining us today, Joel.
Thanks for having me. It's episode 2.
Yes.
So hopefully I don't fall too far away from the standards of episode 1.
No, I guess the only right way to start with today's question is like, how is it like to be on the opposite side of like the podcast?
Yeah.
Other than being like a host, as a guest.
I mean, recently I've been taking on more guest roles on other people's podcasts as well. So it's been an interesting experience.
Right.
Feels good actually. Sometimes a bit stressed moderating conversations and whatnot. So it feels nice now to be like, okay, just answering.
Yeah. Rather than just remembering the questions like what I'm doing right now. But but anyway, it's just a relaxing chat. We're just invite Joel and just get to know what you do and introduce to our guests on the creative side of things. So now you're obviously everywhere, and you mentioned that you're from an art school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get back right from the start.
Okay.
How do you get here with ZYRUP? Am I pronouncing this correctly?
It's syrup with a Z, basically. That's how I would explain it. Like sugar syrup,
right,
and then ZYRUP. Yeah, so that's how it's the way to pronounce it.
All right,
yeah.
So now you know how to pronounce ZYRUP. ZYRUP.
It's okay. I know everyone messes up. They're like, ZYRUP. I'm like, yes, ZYRUP. Yes.
and also we know that you are involved with Now Academy.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things that I do. I think I wear a lot of hats in the works that I put myself into. So I think after I graduated from NTU, I worked in an agency which came up with a lot of different entertainment portfolios, right? So among them was the Now Academy, which was something that fell into my lap, and then I just took it on with so much passion, and what came out of it was really a youth conference that I felt like made a big difference to the attendees who attended it, supported of course by the National Youth Council and with the Gushlout team as well. So to me, it's like that project was so important to me that I just decided to when the opportunity came to continue, I was like, yes, I'll definitely do it. So we're in year 3 now, and hopefully for many more years to come. Yeah.
Wow, impressive, very impressive. And now back to ZYRUP.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide to name your company name ZYRUP?
Yeah. So I mean, eventually we wanted something that could be easily Googleable. I don't even know if that's the word. But what we wanted to do was basically, if you type in Google and you type in a name, it will be the first thing that comes out. So it usually meant that you either have to combine 2 words, 3 words, or you have to come up with an entirely new word. So for the longest time, we were kind of thinking what is a term that would be, fun, right? So we wanted something, because it was, at the time, it was supposed to be an entertainment magazine, a purely entertainment magazine. So we wanted something casual, something fun. So it cannot be too serious, right? So one of the things we wanted to do, we were discussing what does the brand stand for, and we wanted it to be entertainment juice. So the idea of fluids came about, and we were like, okay, we wanted it to be playing on the juice term, and then there's not from concentrate, so the idea of syrup came about. And then I think, I don't know, it was kind of trendy for companies to change a letter or 2 in their names and whatnot. So I was with my friend, and my friend is this super snooty, he's not the target audience of what an entertainment magazine would look for. So he was very uppity in the way he conducts himself. And I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it's just I knew for a fact that if I was to have a target audience, he is not what I have in mind. So I asked him what do you think of the name ZYRUP, which is syrup with a Z, right? And he says, Joel, I hate it. So I said, you know what? I think that's my sign. You know, if you hate it, means it's good for me because like you are not my target audience. So I was like, I will take it as a sign, and that's where I committed to it. And I think from there on, like it stuck. And thank God, after 4 years, like the name still hasn't. Like I think it's still a cool name. You know, it doesn't like sound weird or lame. Thank God. So yeah, like I think it was a good call back then. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, and especially the content that you created and reaching out to those Gen Z, Generation Z people, right?
Yes.
It's sort of like so gelling together with the company name.
Yeah. So like at one point, like one of the journalists was asking me like, oh, did you guys do ZYRUP because like Gen Z? And I'm like, yes.
It's a good story.
Yes, it's a very good story.
Wow.
So I will give her credit for it lah. So it didn't make a lot of sense. So I think that is a great way to explain like, you know, the generation that grew up with the brand, right? I do think that the Gen Z audience is what ZYRUP is working with and working for. Yeah.
Wow. I like that. Yeah. So there is you have another show on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I have a question. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a very cool show. Mm-hmm. How does the concept come about, and how do you get the co-host? Because these people are like big names, right? Mm-hmm. Like we have Narelle, Felicia, as well as like IHAQ on the show.
Yeah. So, maybe I can start with how the concept came about. So, I think. Okay, wait. I have to go all the way back to the general elections of 2020. Yes, 2020. So GE 2020 was like the big thing that happened, right? And on my own personal front, on my social media, I was just doing some funny content here and there, and those went viral. And then that's where I felt like was my big break in the entertainment industry, where I went from like behind the scenes to like in front of the camera. Narelle and I have been friends since school. We both went to NTU, and I think we've interacted with each other in school as well. So there was kind of like that friendship already existing. So during GE 2020, I think most people would know that Narelle and like another content creator, Wendy, which is Xiaxue, had a big argument, right, on social media. And obviously, it was such a heated topic. I think everyone had kind of like an opinion about it, whether or not they agreed with Narelle, whether they agreed with Wendy and whatnot. At the time, I was talking to Narelle about it, and you know, we were discussing like how to even have conversations like this, because it's such a polarized internet space. You know, everyone is shouty, everyone wants to be heard. But after having a 2-hour-long conversation with Narelle, I actually understood a lot of the points that she was trying to make, and maybe I wouldn't entirely agree with some of the points. Like what I realized was that this girl has so many intelligent points that she was making. It's just that she needed a space or a platform that would facilitate like conversations that don't get maybe too personal or too heated, right? Because I think both of us, we realized that when that whole argument came about, a lot of people focus on the drama of like, oh, you know, two public figures fighting versus the topic at hand. And I think that's what both Narelle and I didn't really like. We preferred if people would focus on the topic at hand. So then that got the wheels turning, right? And I was like, like, you know, right now I have a platform, Narelle has a platform. Like, what if we use it for like good, right? And show that we can discuss difficult topics respectfully, and also, you know, have that focus be on the topic versus the personality. So then I didn't speak to her about it yet, but I wanted to then come up with an idea first. So I was looking at like other shows out there that do conversations like this, and obviously like The View, The Talk, you know, Red Table Talk, like all these different talk shows have similar concepts and everything. And I think that what is good about those shows is that they have different representatives with different points of views and different backgrounds coming together to express themselves. So I know where I stand, I know where Narelle stands. I just needed to look for people with different perspectives from us, but also like, you know, people who are able and willing to publicly speak, right? So in my 2 years in the entertainment industry as a working professional, I got to know IHAQ, who runs his own company, and it's a very influential voice when it comes to a certain sector of Singapore. And like he was also on I believe The Voice. Yeah, so I felt that like, hey, if you are able to be on a national platform receiving criticism every week, I think that perhaps you will be able to handle public attention lah. So I then reached out to Isaac and I said like, and we weren't really like friends. I would say like we were industry friends. We were friendly, but so I was a bit nervous walking up to him. So I was like, Isaac, is it okay if we talk? And then he was like, yeah, sure. So I gave him this idea, right, that we would form like a table, and it would be myself. And at that point, like I haven't spoken to Narelle, but like I was like, maybe Narelle might be in. I don't know, but like this would be something that I think that would work. So Isaac was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And I'm like, oh, thank God. So and then I went to Narelle and I said like, I think I have this idea, like possibly if you're open to it, like, we can see if this can work out. And then she was like, she thought about it and then she said yes. So just like that, I had Narelle and Isaac locked in.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, okay, like that's easier than I thought it would be. And I think also because like I came to them with a plan, I did plan out like what the show would be, which is a lot easier than just a frivolous idea lah. So at least I think that gave them, I hope, a sense of like, this guy's serious about this, that he's not just like throwing ideas out. And then the last seat, I really wanted like, I wanted it to be 2 guys, 2 girls.
Right.
And Isaac's mixed blood, so I still wanted someone that could perhaps be like a voice for like the minority group in Singapore.
I see.
And then during the election period, like Farisha followed me on Instagram, and I was like, Farisha followed me on Instagram. So I was like, because I knew who she was, right?
Right.
So like when I was, I think in school, she was winning the final one on Channel 5.
Right.
And she was like one of the younger contestants. Everyone around me was like, have you heard this girl sing? She's so good. So when that Farisha IHAQ IG handle followed me, I was like, I know this person, like, oh my God, how cool is it? These people that I know of, like now following me. So I was like, ooh. And then like when I checked out her Instagram page, like she has been very like vocal and obviously highly intelligent, and she works, I don't know if I can reveal this, but she works at a place where that deals with like, very academic and like intellectual information and content. So I was like, I think that, if she's open to it, she would be a great person to be that 4th member. Again, I was like, shit, I don't know if she'll say yes, but I was like, you know what, shot in the dark, let's go. And then I just texted her on Instagram and I said like, would you be open to doing this? So she then replied and she was like, yeah, like let's talk about it more. So I was like, oh my gosh, like that's it, like the 4 of us are settled. So we had a initial meeting. We said like, hey, do we want to see if we can vibe, right? Like chemistry is so important in the cast. So we said like, why don't we go to a cafe, have like coffee, whatever, and get to know one another better. So we met, I think, in Haji Lane, and then we took out like a small corner in the cafe, and then that would be an initial meeting with like 2 hours long, just getting to know one another, understanding that we are different, we all have different opinions on different things, and then from there, then we said like, okay, let's do the show. So thankfully, everything went well, and then we launched the show, and hopefully like we'll do more. Like we're a bit slow in our content, but like I think we are still learning. All 4 of us are learning. The production team is learning. So hopefully, like in time to come, like the content will be more and also like faster when we film our shows. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
It seems like you have your dream team like in your first attempt, and
Yeah.
it's quite amazing that you can manage to gather people who has different opinions and have their own perspective
Yeah.
on life. So in terms of like the show, I have a question, right? What are the topics that you guys mainly talk about?
So we wanted to do hot button issues.
Right.
So it can come in the form of like politics. It can come in the form of social issues. Yeah, things like that. So basically whatever. I mean, I don't know why, but in the age of social media, every other few weeks there will be the next big topic that everyone is focusing on. What we wanted to do was then to facilitate conversations about those. And we didn't just like confine it to a YouTube show. We explored platforms like Clubhouse, for example.
Wow.
And we also explored like Zoom dialogues, So what we wanted to do was to basically create a brand that could go beyond just a show and hopefully, facilitate conversations on all kinds of platforms. Hopefully in person in time to come as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just a few days ago, I was like watching one of the episodes with my colleagues, and it's kind of it's something that we least expect. Like, how do you guys like even think about inviting like people like the politicians in there? How do you guys even start on that?
So choosing a topic is always very difficult between the four of us, because we have a rule between the four of us, and that is the no question asked veto. So there have been topics where one person says, I want to talk about X, and then two people say, yeah, let's talk about it, and then the last person says, I don't think maybe I'm ready for it, and there have been multiple times and there's different people that veto, and I think that was one of the first few rules that we discussed among ourselves, that like, hey, if it comes to a veto, like what happens, we all agree that there's no question asked. Perhaps just someone is just not ready to talk about it, and that is how we develop that safe space, right? So while that means like taking longer to decide on topics, like at least that every topic that we did, everyone is on board with it, right? So we have a group chat, we have a Facebook, we have an Instagram group chat, and then we have a WhatsApp group chat. And then we also would, back then we couldn't meet in a group, so we would have like in-person like meals as well. So that's when we would sit down and decide like, okay, what topics we'll talk about. Usually it's on WhatsApp where we just throw out ideas, and then once all four are agreeable, then we'll just go for it. So the idea was that it will always be 5 of us on the panel, so it's a 4 main cast and 1 expert that will come in. The concept of the show is that like, rather than 4 people who are opinionated, we also wanted someone that can bring in perhaps like a professional perspective,
right?
So then when the topic is settled, we will then look for like people that perhaps can bring in insightful like points that they can add to the conversation. So they don't have to be politicians. They could be academics, like professors and whatnot. They could be people who are industry professionals. As long as they're able to add to the conversation, then we will put them on our shortlist, and then we will also want to see like who can like basically balance out our dynamic as well. We are not an easy bunch to handle. I would think that on set, like we will talk for hours and hours. Sometimes, like the first episode, cancel culture, we recorded for more than 2 hours actually.
Wow.
And then it finally got out in I believe a 20-minute episode. So we are still trying to figure out like how to do that and everything. And I know that sometimes for people who are not in entertainment, that can be very intimidating. Yeah. Like you're not just dealing with like one opinionated person, you're dealing with 4, So we had to look at like, people's background, whether they've done like speaking engagements before. And then so far, like thankfully, most of the people that we reached out to said yes. So we have had a great run so far lah.
Yeah, I was trying to ask like is it very difficult to approach or to get expert on board, because these people are busy with their own daily life, right? So
yeah.
So how was your your take on that, and how do you do you shortlist a certain list of like people?
Yeah.
How does it go about?
We do have a short list. We usually compile a list of people that we would like to appear on the show. Like we would explain to them the purpose of the show, and that we would really appreciate if they could like take some time to join us. I've always, whenever I send out those emails, it's always kind of like, I'm quite sure they're going to say no. So my interns are always like, so I used to have 2 interns that work with me on the show,
right.
In the planning of the show, and then they'll always be like, oh, I want this person. I'm like, dude, like they're not going to say yes, like no. And then we reached out, and then they said yes. I was like, they're going to say yes, and they're not going to say yes. And then eventually, like they saw the email, and then they replied, and they said yes, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, like I think it's luck. I really don't know.
Okay. I
don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah,
I'm just thankful that people believe in the show enough to take time out of their schedules to say yes. The fact that we had a professor, we had someone from the task force, and we had someone from IPS, right? So it's like sometimes I look at all these people and I'm like, damn, like how funny, how like, okay, first of all, it's incredible, but also like, what the hell, like why would they even say yes to us? But like, I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really amazing, because it's when you said about like interns is planning for the show. This show was planned by my intern as well, and when we were approaching like our guests, it's take us some courage to actually approach, because we never know that this is like AMC. We are not known for podcasts. We just do like broadcast animations and visual effects. So we just want to start out this, and honestly, thanks again. We are very lucky and happy to have you on board with us on this show.
No, I mean, personally, like, as I said, like, I come from behind the camera, right? So I always feel like I appreciate the team that does stuff. So like 100% always ready to support like fellow creative people. I think our industry is so small. I don't think that our industry has space for us to be like competitive, for us to be toxic to one another. And of course there are gonna be people like that, but like for me, I really don't think that we should, because we're already so small in larger ecosystem. So might as well like support one another. And if everyone's going to be competitive and toxic and not helpful to one another, in time to come, it's just like everyone's just going to be isolated, right?
100%.
But in time to come, when everyone works together, like perhaps we can even be the next big entertainment hub. I really think so, It's a bit crazy, right? If you think about it, like how come Singapore has so much infrastructure, so much talent?
Yes.
Like we are not like there yet in the entertainment scene. I would say that we're still lagging behind a little bit, Like, do our people have the taste? Yeah.
Yep.
Like the movie production houses come here and they launch like movies here, right? How many Hollywood stars come here? So they understand that Singapore has taste. In the past, music labels would send their artists here to test water whether or not like it works for the Asian market, which also means that we have taste. So why is it that our friends in Japan, our friends in Korea, even Indonesia and Malaysia are so much more ahead when it comes to our media scene? Like, I feel like we have the talent. If you look around, like, you look at the people like Samuelos, right? They are indicative that like in time to come, we are going to be able to create like bigger acts, in Singapore. So I think it's time for Singapore's industry to like come together and work together and create great stuff together.
Agree. I think we sort of have the talents, the resources, and everything here. It's just whether or not we are willing to work together and create good things. 100% on you on that point. No, and when we look at when I was looking at you and your shows, right? You, other than these other shows and events that you hold, and watching ZYRUP content, how do you gather, or how do you manage all this together and manage to run ZYRUP at the same time?
I mean, I'm still trying to work it out on my own. I wouldn't say that I'm perfect at it.
Right.
But using Google Calendar helps a lot. And also using Trello helps a lot. So
we use Trello also.
Yes, correct. So just basically being organized and making use of technology to assist, in the planning of your time. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, especially now when we are, working in team-based and remote, having good organizations, communications is the key.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, Joel is also a project manager for Now, who hosts conference for unconferences for the young creative, like Sheng. So I think you are the perfect person for this question. What do you think is the relationship between the young people and the local media industry today?
Right. When you asked me that question, my mind immediately shot to this conversation that I had with interns that I worked with. So the reason why I treat internships very special is because when I had my internships, I was given so many opportunities. I was working under a team that was very, very small and just starting out, which also meant that as an intern, I could do more. And I wanted to do more. I was very clear, they reached out to say like, hey, we like your work. Would you like to be part of our team? And I said like, what's there for me to work on? If I was going to be spending 3 months with your company, you have to let me know what are things that I can work on. So they told me XXX opportunities, and then like it was really like to the power of 10 because I did so much more. I didn't really complain about it. I really, really enjoyed it. And to this day, I would think that I am still benefiting from the experiences and the relationships that I built through those internship experiences.
Wow.
And that is because I was in a line and a track that really appreciated a younger person's point of view. Right, so that made me understand that you don't have to be the most experienced person to have most valuable insight when you're sitting at a table. But if you're sitting at a table, you have to earn that seat. So that's a perspective that I've always held strongly. So when I've had my first batch of interns come with me, and I saw that all of them were just waiting for instructions, waiting for approval. I understand where that's coming from because that's school, right? You have to ask for teacher's permission. You have to make sure that everything goes according to what the teacher wants. So I said this, let me give you a scenario here, right? Whereby if let's say I am a brand, let's say I am a 70-year-old owner of a huge drinks brand, right? Of course, you have to be at that age if you're going to own a huge drink, multi-million-dollar brand. And I come today and I say, all right, my marketing person says, we need to enter TikTok today, right? We need to run a TikTok campaign. Now, sitting before me is a 50-year-old marketing executive, 20, 30 years of experience, launching the biggest advertising campaigns in the world. And then on the other hand, I have an 18-year-old, zero qualifications, still in school, but 1 million followers on TikTok, right? And it's on TikTok every day. Now, who will I choose to run my TikTok campaign?
Yeah.
Even if I don't choose the kid at the end of the day, the fact that I paused is that I paused and I thought about it. Now, in what situation will there be ever an opportunity for a young kid to be considered, even considered over an industry veteran? So you have to understand that if you're young, that is no longer a negative thing. It's literally a plus that you can bring to the table. So that is the mindset that you can bring to the table. And if you to answer your question, if you take a look at this on a wider perspective, then that means that when you're young and you are in a media industry, you actually have so much to contribute, to the workflow processes, to the taste levels, to the production of whatever you're working on. So I would think to not obviously you have to be a sponge and you have to understand, you have to learn processes, but you also have things to contribute as well, and it's not a one-way street. I think that's how I'll answer your question.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I think Shine Initiative is an amazing show or event, showcasing the local talents and showcasing young creative, that it's possible to be here just like yourself. How do you guys think about starting this initiative, and how do you guys even think about planning the events like the Unconference?
Sure. So I think it's important to differentiate the Shine Now brand as well as the Shine brand. Mm-hmm. So Shine Now is part of the larger Shine umbrella. So I would think that a lot of people are very familiar with the Shine brand. They have had I think a decade worth of concerts and events at town. And then along the way, the people behind Shine, which is the National Youth Council, said that we would like for Shine to expand its reach and its brand. And at the same time, I think the Gush Cloud team, who run unconferences like the Open Circles brand, said that they wanted to do something similar for youths, whereby the idea was that conferences were a bit too suffocating, stifling for young people, but the value that they bring is actually so good. So we wanted something that would be not so intimidating for younger audiences, but still bring that awesome value to them, to be a bit more serious about their futures and whatnot. So both sides came together, and that's why there's the Now brand and then there's the Shine brand, and it formed Shine Now, which was the first 2 years of the event. I think Shine is taking a break for now, like the brand. So this year's edition will just be called Now, but the people at NYC are still very much involved. Like it's still the same event, and I hope that in time to come, like more kids will be able to be exposed to what the Shine brand does. I mean the Now brand does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing that the NYC and is so supportive on this, and there's like initiative from SoundCloud. You were mentioning about it?
Gush Cloud.
Yes. Gush Cloud that supportive of this event and keeping this event alive.
Yes.
Right. And then I saw on the previous events that you gotten big names in like Tableau and Park Jimmy.
Yes.
So how do you guys like even reach out to them? These guys are like so far off.
Yes, correct.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where the Gush Cloud team comes in, because Gush Cloud is they grew very, very fast. They are now like I believe in either 11 or 13 countries. I cannot remember the correct number, but it's a lot of countries. But they do have offices in the US, China, South Korea, and Japan, right? Outside of like Southeast Asia. So when you have teams working in those different countries who are all in entertainment, it makes it a lot easier for like connections and like contracts to be drafted and everything. So by chance and by luck, we were able to get in touch with our colleagues over there, and they basically facilitated the booking and engagement of all these talents. Like it sounds so surreal to be like, Park Jimin or like Tableau would even consider like an event like ours. But I think they understood the value of use, and they understood the value of like working off passion. So I think that's why they wanted to say. In fact, I would think that my proudest reach was actually Simu Liu. So Shang, right?
Yeah.
For,
yes, I remember that.
So he was the headliner for last year. So he was someone that I really looked up to. So Tableau, Jimin, like we had my colleagues to do it. Simu was someone I closed on my own. So like he was my literal career high, and I don't think I've reached that level yet since. But we were supposed to bring him in for 2019. That was when he was filming Shang-Chi Shang-Chi. I don't know how to Shang-Chi. So at the time, like he wasn't able to fly in, but then the pandemic happened, and like thankfully the second time around we were able to launch it. Now how I managed to reach out to him was basically by putting together what I call a one-pager. So like it's an industry thing that I had to learn as well. So in Hollywood, this is what I was told. I don't know if it's true lah. Okay, like I mean I haven't been to LA to do work. But the people who are in LA always say that like if you want to talk to me, give me a one-pager. So I'm like, okay.
What is a one-pager?
Okay, so a one-pager is basically a one-page document that entails every single detail that you need to know about a particular event or a particular project or a particular person. So a one-pager can exist for an artist, a company, a brand, an event, for example. And that one-pager would detail like who to contact, what to do, whatever. So with that one-pager, then you just start sending it out to all the different agents and also like people who would close deals and whatnot. So so with that, then I would then reach out to all these different artists and everything. So I prepared a very solid one-pager. Like I made sure to include everything that if I was to look at it, I would say like, yes, I think I will give this a shot. So I was very proud to put that together, and I think that was what helped, secure someone like Simu. Yeah, so it's that was honestly like I feel like sometimes getting a bit spiritual, but I feel like sometimes like things fall into place a bit too nicely. I therefore think like I will give credit to like whatever higher being that is out there, whatever religion you're in. Like I do believe that it's a larger being, because I feel like it can't be, like everything's like
you mentioned luck right early on.
It's luck, fate, like divine intervention. I don't know. It feels a bit like easy, so I was like, it has to be someone else. It can't be just me. But like I also do my own work. I do my hard work as well. But like like I would there's an element of like trusting, or in recent TikTok terms, manifesting. Everyone's like manifest. I'm like, yeah, actually, yeah. If you think about it, I basically manifested my entire career. If you think about it, so
okay. Back to the local context, right? There's one particular story that you feature on. You did a cover story on him. I don't know whether you remember Sheng the rapper.
yes. Love.
There is like conflicting comments on and some people have been critical about him.
Okay.
So what how do you decide or even go ahead and do a cover story interview for him or with him?
So let me tell you about my experience with like I know him as Sheng Hong, right?
Yeah.
So when he was going viral for his rap videos, I remember someone sending it to me, and then I remember smiling, just like watching his videos. And then I didn't just watch one, I went through every single one of his videos, and I watched it and I thought it was so funny, so he's so cute, and I was like, wow, like this guy has like a magnetism to him, right? That I personally was a fan of. Like, today, I mean, sure, like you have like people who would love like your rappers, your industry people and whatnot, but we live in a world today where people can say that, oh, they're fans of someone who talks about politics on Instagram, right? 10 years ago, you tell them something like, what the hell? I would rather listen to the CNN, right? Why would I listen to an Instagrammer talking about politics? But today we live in a world where like you choose the kind of entertainment that you enjoy.
Yes, yeah.
I enjoyed Sheng's rapping. I enjoy his content, right? I wouldn't probably stream him on Spotify, sure, but I really enjoyed his content. Why? Because it just purely brought me joy. I was addicted to his content. But at the same time, then I also saw that he was getting viral, right? And it was very interesting because he was that one person where you had people who were like me, genuine fans of the content. But because I would plug it under comedy, like other people saw it as a way to mock his music abilities. So you have people who were fans, you have people who were haters, and then you have people who were like ironic fans, right? It's a whole other thing on its own. Like, ironically stand this person. So like you had a whole lot of people who were like just hyping it up for the sake of, because they know that like he's not like a typical rapper. And then you had another group that was like scolding the people who hate on him. So you have like 4 very distinct types of people on a very large scale, literally hundreds of thousands at the time, who would talk about this one young boy who seems entirely clueless about everything, and he just continues doing his rap videos. And to me, as a writer, I felt like that was a story. You don't get every day where every other person in school is talking about this kid. Everyone in the entertainment industry is talking about this kid. It's like, this is a story. So I wanted to know. And then you have, like, usually when someone goes viral or whatever, they will, like, obviously leverage on it and build a career out of it. Lil Nas X.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Brian, right? So, like, but I don't see him doing that, and he just seems to be like happy where he is. I'm like, okay, I need to talk to this kid. Like I would love to like speak to him, do a profile on him, and at the same time, like I see so much potential in whatever he was doing, and I also want to kind of like give like a metaphorical middle finger to the haters, right? They were like, making fun of him, and I'm like, you know what? Let me show you that this kid has like fire in him. So when Rich Brian went viral, his content was also like comedy rap, Lil Nas X went viral with like a cowboy song, it's we live in a very weird world today. Like you don't have to follow the rules to become successful. So I was like, I looked at Sheng's whatever, and I said like, there's so much potential here. You just need to add a sick beat to one of the raps. Maybe like, mix it in here a little bit, and then I know that I'm strong at visuals, right? So I knew how to like style him a little bit. So I reached out to him and I said like, would you be open by any chance, to do a story? And then we were thinking of doing like a remix of one of your raps, right? So he was like, yeah, but my mom has to be there. And I was like, oh yeah, actually I forgot that you're a kid, So I said, yeah, absolutely, let's have your mom come over here. So we worked together. he was so open to the works that I was telling him to do, that I was putting together, and like basically that shoot was done, and like every single person that spoke to me at the time, whether they liked him, didn't like him, they were like, what the hell is this idea? Like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, you guys don't understand. I feel like there's this like story, there's a potential here. And there's potential to also for him, in my opinion, to like reclaim, the narrative, right? So the day when so we did like a remix, we did a music video kind of thing, 1 minute long, literally just a short clip. I got my friend who does music to just like remix a rap that he did, added some beats to it, and then like my friends at ZYRUP and I, like we filmed the video, I shot the photos, and in conjunction with the article launch, we're like, okay, let's do it. Let's launch this video. That video got, I think it was the first time, this was before my election experience as well, so that was the first time I ever experienced like virality.
Wow.
So it was like non-stop, the moment it launched, non-stop comments, likes, shares, everything. Every single celebrity was like sharing it on their IG story, and like you could tell that Sheng was so happy to see it go big like that. And yeah, like I really, really enjoyed the experience. Like so I think it got like 100,000 views in 2 days.
Wow.
So I was like, damn, like this guy's got it. But I don't know, I think he's probably like chilling right now. I really know what he's doing these days. I still have his number. Like I mean, I've been so busy, putting ZYRUP together. But I invited him, surprisingly, interestingly, to Shine Now. I think the 2019 Shine Now. And he got to meet young Raja.
Oh.
So I was like, oh my gosh, like, perfect. Yeah. So that was really cute. Yeah, but I haven't spoken to him in a while, but like I feel that he has one hit in him, one big hit in him to launch. So I don't know, I mean this is a whole other topic on Sheng the Rapper, but like when I looked at his success or virality on social media, right, I really felt like the people in music should have set up and said, there's potential here, like you needed someone to just say yes to this boy and like pump in, the resources to film a music video, to help him record a song. Like I would have if I had the resources, but at the time, like I didn't lah. Like I was just me, I had my ZYRUP, so that's all I could do. But like if only, like someone, I really think that he could have been like this next big thing, but yeah, I think I feel like he's very happy doing what he's doing now. I feel like he's playing Mobile Legends a lot. So I'm like, yeah, like okay, like good for you, Sometimes it's just like, yeah, whatever makes happy. Right?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, as long as you enjoy doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? He enjoyed rapping, and despite a lot of like I think critical comments on his music, he's still pushing through. That's something that's very commendable. I don't think everybody is like can do that. And I don't know. I just feel like this boy has, like you said, the fire in him to continue what he do.
I love his stuff. Like I really see it's just content. It's just content, and it's like not all content needs to be like M&M level stuff, right? It's like, as long as you enjoy the content, then there's a content for you. And like like I don't care what people think about my taste, but like I really enjoy Sheng the Rapper lah.
But Sheng the Rapper himself, right? Do he know that whether or not his people are liking or not liking his music?
I think he knows. I think he knows. Okay. So I did ask him that, and I said like, because I know what it's like to receive negative comments, right? And back then, like I only had like one or two, and he obviously has like so many. And I was like, how do you react to it? And he says that he doesn't really focus on that. Like he focuses on like the positive.
Right.
And I feel like, whoa, that's actually like so deep for like a kid, because I back then was struggling with like making sure that people would enjoy what I put out, So I was like, like there's actually so much to learn from this kid, because like maybe it's a bit in your own world, to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna focus on this. But like it's actually something that like is so powerful, because like that's what I do now.
Yeah.
I focus on like the people that the content is meant for. Yeah. So I think that's something that a lot of us can learn from. Actually.
I mean, you can't just please anyone, right?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay. Now, you guys also like did interviews and cover stories for other, for shows. like how do you decide like who should you all feature? Like for instance, like you have Stirring the Pot Fauzi, TikTok stars, as well as like Chris Mark.
I think it depends on the output that we're looking at. So if, for example, like if it's a magazine,
Right.
then it has to be with people who are of the moment. So for example, like when we interviewed Chris, he was part of when we interviewed Chris, he was part of Me Watch's new series,
Right.
which was like a reimagining of like a teenage textbook, right? And he was one of the characters in it. So if you have something coming up, then we would definitely interview you for the magazine. For shows, for example, like Stirring the Pot, we just wanted people that could fit the format of the show. So the format is really like influencers competing with each other. And we, at the time, saw like the two Fauzis who would always be on social media, and we're like, how fun will it be if Fauzi can versus Fauzi? So those considerations come into play. So it really depends on like the show, the format, and like what is expected of the person. Let's say if I have a question, we'll probably choose a guest that is like from a more academic background, who can handle like, harder hitting topics. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it seems like because you're so diverse, you have a lot of like different shows on different topics and different personalities on your show, right? And personally, since you're in this industry for quite a while, many years really, how do you feel about whether or not our local media industry is going in the right directions? Because this is always a very yes and no answer, right?
I mean, it's too big of a question for me to answer, I feel. But I would say that it's encouraging to see the democratization, wow, big word, of a lot of like media companies. You see like the smaller players like myself getting opportunities, so that's something I appreciate. But what I hope for the future is, again, like a lot of us coming together to share like tips, resources, insights and whatnot, so that we can all grow faster and together. I think that's a big way to grow. I do think that a lot of the content that we do across the media industry is very inward looking. So we're creating for Singaporeans. I think it will be really exciting if one day the Singapore entertainment scene can start looking at creating content for the global audience. And it's not like we cannot do that. Like we are an English-speaking nation, which also means that we have a large potential when it comes to reaching out to the English-speaking world. So hopefully in time to come, we will see like big, Singapore productions on Netflix. Perhaps the next Squid Game will be from Singapore.
Wow.
I think it's possible. I really think it's possible. But obviously, like for a Squid Game to happen, you must have an industry that can support, the kind of quality, right? And they've obviously had a big runway before them, which is why when I look at like people like the Sam Willows, I do think that they're laying like the groundwork for like big, like that's the first brick of that runway for Singapore, So in time to come, like we need to continue laying that groundwork. Maybe not in our lifetime, but like in time to come, like I think we are definitely positioned. I mean, we have the infrastructure, we have the talent, we have the taste. Like I think all the ingredients are there. You just need people to be putting them together and making that dish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we just had this topic just last on our first episode. We talk about Gentle Bones or Sam Willows are laying the groundworks. All what we need to do right now is to keep up and just maintain that and continue doing that. Yeah. Right? Wow. But I mean, I like what you're doing because what you're doing is actually helping us, like the local media industry people, to know more about the industry and the circles of things coming in. So we hope that there's a lot more people like you doing all that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see people in the industry as competitors. Right. I feel like we're all colleagues, and I think that's the way to look at it. Of course, like if you're in different companies, you will definitely see yourself as competitors, but like I understand how that is. But on my own, it's like when you have different production houses all existing in the same place, like how exciting is it for the larger scene, right? When you look at the K-pop world, you have I hope I don't get this wrong, but you have like Big Hit, which is now a different company name. You have like the SM, you have like I don't know what they're all, YG, right? You have all these different companies. Like I'm sure they see themselves as competitors as well, but when from an outsider point of view, you look at like the K-pop scene and like, damn, they're also doing great stuff as a whole. And I think that sometimes we don't really have to be too sucked into this whole all like we are all in the rat race kind of thing. If you take a step back and take a look at the whole industry, it's like I hope one day other countries can look at us and say like, damn, Singapore's entertainment industry is lit. So I hope that is the trajectory that we're going to be on. Yeah.
Wow, cool. You've spoken to a lot of like creatives during your shows and events. What is like who do you think leave a deep impressions, or maybe your favorite artists or influencers, or it could be anyone,
It's so biased, but like Simu is definitely going to be my answer. I don't even know if I'm supposed to reveal this, but whatever. I'll get in trouble later. But so we booked Simu for like X amount of time, and with obviously international artists, you do have to like respect time and everything. So I was very like anal about like making sure that everything goes according to plan and everything. On set I was like, okay, like running the show and making sure that like by 40 minutes we'll end, and then at the like 35 minutes mark I was giving the cue to like, okay, let's close up, let's wrap up, and then Simu himself goes like, hey, like let's take a few more questions, like since we're all here. And I felt like he was being genuine. He was like, he was very chill, which is not what I would expect of a Hollywood person. So he took on a few more questions, and then thankfully he did, because the very last question that he took was this 12-year-old boy. And I was like, what are you doing at Shine now, right? Like, you are 12 years old. Like, our event is like focused at like 16 to 20 something, so like 26. And then he's like, oh, hi, I just finished my PSLE, and like I want to ask you, like so he asked a very deep question about like handling failure. And then Simu gave this like wonderful answer, and I was like, damn, like that is literally the embodiment of like the event that I was putting together. The TikTok phrase like, oh, they really understood the assignment. Like, I think Simu really did. He took the brief very seriously, in that this was what the event was about. Like, it was meant to inspire young people, and I think he really gave it his best lah. So even though he was not even in the same country, he was like, I think at a point he was probably in Canada or something. But yeah, like I didn't get to meet him. We met via Zoom because of the conference, but I really appreciated how serious he was about the job, and also like the lasting impact that you can have. And I say this even though it sounds so like, he's doing a job, obviously he has to do it responsibly, but I've seen artists or talents that have done it, solely for like clocking the job, and thankfully not for my event, but like for other events, and you can see that they're just not into it. When I saw Simu turn up for the job, he was so like into it, so ready to give, and I thought that was much appreciated on my end. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. That's actually very good to know, because sometimes we have an impression like Hollywood stars might we can just like limited time for us.
Yeah.
But that's actually quite amazing to know that Simu is so generous with his time.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit on yourself. We know that you left your job maybe not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like any other jobs that you have done before setting up ZYRUP or going into full time with ZYRUP?
I've always done like part-times here and there. After A-levels, after O-levels, before JC, I went for a job. That was my first ever job. I had a lot of fun working with my best friend, but we were doing like administrative work, and then there was, this is not entirely related to the media industry, but since I was a kid, I really knew that I wanted to work in the media industry, entertainment industry somehow, creative industry lah, basically. So along the way, my friend whose dad runs a hawker place was looking for part-timers to work in a hawker shop, and I said like, well, I probably won't ever have this opportunity again to work in F&B or like work in a hawker store. And I was like, how cool is it to work in a hawker store? So that was something that I did when I was a kid. I don't even know how old I was, but I just remember being very young and having to like marinate chicken in a hawker, the hot hot hawker stall.
Amazing. Nowadays, people that they use things likewise, I guess.
I don't. I feel like people might though. Like
Really?
I found it incredibly cool. A bit embarrassing because like I was so bad at what I was doing. Like you're supposed to help, with manpower, but I felt like I was a liability in the kitchen. But to me, like I really, really enjoyed the experience. Like it was dirty, it was like hot and sweaty, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I felt like that was one of the coolest experiences that I hold, like close to myself. I probably would never do it again because like I just don't feel like F&B and myself go hand in hand. I gave food poisoning to my classmates in Sec 2 when I did the class barbecue. So I was like, okay, I'll never touch food again. But yeah, like I thought that was a fun experience, and there's nothing like inspirational to say from that, like where I was saying, I learned a lot of things, but like to me, like, I it's just something I enjoyed. But other than that, I feel like when I got into university, I was a bit more serious about career, like long-term career. So I secured 2 internships before starting my own stuff. And one was with like an established big company in Singapore, and the other one was with a startup at the time. So both gave me very different types of experiences, and I was very strategic going into them, making sure that when I walk out of each experiences, I was going to walk out, like knowing a lot more and knowing how like the industry functions. So yeah, like I would say pre-career jobs that I would do for fun, and then a post-career, like more post-university, like being more serious with the career.
Wow. Yeah. So you sort of already have it in mind, like you want to get something out of it. You have a target and goal in mind before going to these 2 internships.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the best way to think about internships, right? Or opportunities like that. Like I feel like internships allow you to grow and learn, but at the same time still make mistakes.
Right.
Like for example, if a colleague makes a huge mistake, the consequences are a lot higher than if an intern makes a mistake.
Yes.
But you still get the same experience. So I knew going into internships what I wanted to get out of them, and I think that's a big tip that I'll give everyone. Like you don't just go to internships just clock that thing on your resume.
Right.
You go in with clearly something that you can walk out with, that that will help you in your future. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during our break, we mentioned we did mention about you are having a full-time job for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Was it 2 years? 2 years. Yeah. And what makes you think that the 2 years is the right time to make a move to start up your own company like ZYRUP? Because sometimes starting out a own company might be very intimidating. You're not sure what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I think it's very situational. You have to look at timing. You have to look at like opportunities that you currently have on your hands. You have to look at what assets you're working with. So when I made that decision, it was not an easy decision because I was very happy. I was happy working on projects that I really, really loved. I was happy having a supervisor that would that would have my back, which not a lot of people have. So like I literally recently got a pay raise at the full-time job.
Okay.
Which is like, when I look at it, the opportunity, and I said like, damn, like why is it now? Why is it now that I have to make this decision? Because I feel like for the first time in very long, I felt like comfortable, like I had a steady base of clients. I had a supervisor that I could gel well with, and I felt like I was in a good place, but then it was this itch, this hunger to say like, well, like the clock is ticking, you're in your late 20s now, like you want to, like you've always wanted something to do on your own, like why not just jump at it now? So if I'm being realistic and I look at like ZYRUP, which has had like a head start for 4 years now, like can that turn into a business? I look at that and I said like possibly, right? I look at the content that I do on social media, like can that make an impact? And I sat down and I said like, okay, over the 1 year where after I went viral, right, what have I done with the platform? Have I done impactful work? And I looked at it, I listed down every single thing that I did, and I said, yeah, I think I did. I was part of a larger thing that allowed for certain laws to be changed. Like I appreciated that opportunity. I was working with platforms like Instagram themselves to talk about mental health, and this was just 1 year. And I looked at it and I said, like, is there potential for more? Like, very possible that, in a few months' time, like, I'm just going to be irrelevant, right? Or I'm just gonna, like, no one's going to care about what I post anymore. But is there potential for more? And I said, like, yes, there's potential. And then I looked at, the sea of opportunities if you are no longer tied to a larger company. And I said, like, well, like, why not just try? So I would say that I take risks, but I'm also at the same time very risk averse. And at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? If all else fails, touch wood, I can always go back to a full-time job.
Right.
So I felt like the time is right. And again, going spiritual again, it just felt like everything was going nicely into place, right? So for me, I was like, okay, I think it's time. I think all the signs are pointing for me to say, yes, let's do this. And so far, it's been about 3 months now since I've started, and it's very chaotic. I would say, like, a lot of anxiety, but at the end of the day, I feel like I feel it in my bones that it's the correct thing to do, that I'm on the right path. So I'm like, okay lah, I think just have faith in the process.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I kind of like the fact that you actually took calculated risk and make a decision based on where you're from, right?
Yeah.
Wow. But is there any times where you have a slightest regret, and how do you overcome that?
When it comes to career work, do I look back on certain projects that I've done and say, like, I wish I could have done that better? Like, yes, I have a lot of times, especially in projects that I felt like I was a total failure in, and there have been projects like that. But I think it's always thinking that there is a larger end goal in mind. And I look at every single experience, so cliche, but I really see them as, like, lessons to learn from.
Right.
So every time I go through a failure, and I don't know if this is like an eternal optimist kind of like perspective, but every time I go through something that like flops or fails, right, I'm like, okay, like, the next one will be a success, like, let me learn from what went wrong here, and let's do better the next time. So in that sense, I acknowledge that those are not successful, and if you think that your failures are successful, you're probably delusional. So let's not be delusional, but let's be realistic. But you also cannot have too many regrets, because the importance is to look forward and to have, like, the growth mindset, right? So for me, it's just like, let's look at that and let's focus on growth instead. Yeah.
Right. That's a good one, actually. Yeah. Because, like, you won't know until you try, right?
Correct.
And then now you know that this is not working, and then you can work towards it. Yeah. What's workable. Well, so now moving forward, you're your boss yourself, and you're you're the founder and the face of ZYRUP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have met a lot of celebrities and all that. Is there, like, do you have, like, any bad experiences with these celebrities?
Yeah, I'm sure, like, when you have a job that allows you to interact with all sorts of people, there's bound to be people that you don't really, like, vibe with, for example, or just, like, like, bad experiences here and there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there was anyone who gave me, like, a horrible experience, but there have been people who made me sweat a little bit, not to, like, to some people they were, oh, this person's toxic or whatever. Like, to me, it's kind of like, I again see myself as in a relative position to them, right? So if, let's say, I'm speaking to someone who has influence of millions of people, and I'm just me, like, I feel like he or they have earned, like, the position that they're in, and, like, sure, if they want to behave a certain way or whatnot, like, let them be, because to me, I feel like they've earned it. As long as they're not, like, nasty or not malicious in the way they behave, to me, like, I'll just take it as it is. It's just, you are just, like, a larger than life personality that I have to handle. So, and I think that's one of my strengths as well, right? Like, to have to deal with, like, very difficult personalities that sometimes people have, like, just walked out on. For me, it's just like, I don't really mind.
Okay.
I can take it lah.
So you mean there's actually people who just walked out on a show? Or?
Like in this industry, there have been so many stories, right? Of like people not getting along. Like when people say like creative differences, there's probably like like a lot more than just creative differences at hand. But like for me, it's just like I'm just able to work on personal relationships like that.
Yeah.
So there hasn't been like entirely bad experiences or where I felt like they were nasty or whatever. It's just more so like typical diva behavior, which I'm personally like okay, like sure, like to me it's funny. To me it's funny, and it's how you approach it, I guess. Like once again, as long as they are not like malicious or nasty, like to me I find it amusing. I find it amusing, and I'm happy to oblige. Maybe this is part of like the job, right, where you use, because I come in PR, right, so I have to like deal with all these people.
Right.
So whenever I deal with people with like larger than life personalities, it's just always like, okay, cool, it's just part of the job. Yeah.
Okay, alright. But it's just a few minorities only, right? I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. Like, I mean, there's actually a lot of people who are very nice, And I have this thing that like the bigger someone is, like I feel like the nicer they become. I don't know. Like,
okay.
I mean, I find the Rel very chill.
Okay.
And the Rel's not like snooty or whatever.
Right.
So, like but she's also a friend, so maybe that's why she's chill with me. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like Ben King, before I knew him as a friend, I thought he was so chill, and so nice. So yeah, like not everyone is like this. Like, oh, I'm a celebrity. So there are a lot of nice people. Fauzi's very nice as well. Yeah, so that's all I can say. Yeah.
Wow. Now we know Singaporeans are very well behaved.
I'll say mostly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now during the intro, I used the term influencer.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us how does the name come about?
Sure.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, I didn't really know how to classify myself, because in my job, I literally worked with influencers, and to me, okay, I know that obviously the public has perceptions of what an influencer does, right? And usually it comes with like this mocking of like, vapid lifestyles and everything. But for me, I work with them to service clients, for example. So I see the work that goes behind creating content, right? So to an average person, it's just taking a pretty picture. But the mindset of a creator or an influencer is that they really have to plan, they have to schedule and consistently engage with audiences so their numbers will grow, things like that. So once you go into the processes and the workflow and everything, and you go into the client management, blah, 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 like apart from all the glitz and glamour and all the like events, fancy events, it really becomes a job. It truly becomes a job. So for the longest time, I just saw influencers as a job. And that usually entails like hard work in maintaining the way you look, maintaining the way you speak, maintain the way you curate your feed and everything. And when I first started out, I realized that like that's not really what I was doing.
Right.
So I couldn't really see myself as what you would call an influencer, because I hope, I don't know if you look at my page now, it's the same way, but you probably wouldn't see a lot of photos of myself, you know. It was mostly like my takes on things. So I was like, I don't know if I can call myself an influencer today. And then one of the followers commented on something. They were like, oh, thanks for this, you're an info-encer. And I'm like, oh, okay, that works. I think that's something a bit more comfortable with using. And then I then decided to just adopt that term. I adopted it as a joke at first because I was like, lol, like so funny, you're so stupid. But I was like, yes, and then after that, it just became this whole thing, and I just stuck with it afterwards. Because I feel like it's the easiest way to explain to someone what I do, because again, we live in a world where anything and everything goes. So it's a bit hard to explain to someone what I do on social media also. So I think influencer really encapsulates everything that I do.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that, a lot of even your names, your company names and influencer, your title comes from the public or your followers or someone who listen to you.
Yeah.
Because they know, I mean, this is what they feel and this is what their impression is, and this is the perfect title for you.
Yeah. I just need to remember who was the one that suggested. Damn it, I can't remember who is it now.
Okay, maybe we'll watch your feed and
we'll see.
But for apart from that, right, how do you curate or come up with your own topics to get people to listen to your topics as well as to get them educated?
I think when it comes to hot button issues, it's usually in reaction to like a particular event or a particular happening that took place in society. So I take my cue from like the world around me, like basically current affairs. So if something is being discussed at the moment, then I think I would like to give an opinion on it, or expand and learn from it. So the fun part about, because I've always been like that, like let's say for example, topic A comes up in the news, I've always been the kind that would deep dive and go and learn on my own and go and like watch 1,000 YouTube videos and then go and like read forums and then go and like discuss it with friends in real life. Now the fun comes that like when I do that, like there's 10,000 other people who will be interested in doing the same thing. So it's just basically channeling that into content. Yeah, so that's the thought process. There's really nothing more behind it. Yeah.
So you get yourself first of all, you need to get yourself educated as much as you can. Mm-hmm. Right, then you educate people from there.
I don't like using the word me educating people. I just use more so like using my platform to facilitate for people to understand topics. Because usually, like if I let's say give certain like facts or whatever, they're not from me. Because I mean, let's be real. Like I'm a 28-year-old with a comms degree or like art degree, right? Like what do I really know about vaccines? But I usually like have like experts or I quote reliable sources for their content. So it's really just more so like a resource hub than me educating people. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So lastly, do you have any advice for people who are aspiring to be in this local media industry? Mm-hmm. Maybe someone you hope who have told you when you start.
I think the barrier of entry is very, very, very low. If you want to do something, you just make sure that you prime yourself for what the industry that you want to be in. I would be lying if I said that I planned out the current success that I'm having, right? Because I was a viral case study, so I didn't plan for going to go viral. So. But what I did plan was after the virality happened, what did I do to make it stable? So, and so far, I feel like after 1 year, it has worked. So it's just making sure that you prime yourself for what you envision. Not everyone becomes viral. More people are getting viral today, but not everyone becomes viral. So if you have to go through the long route of building the momentum and everything, then it's about consistency. I think consistency is so important.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be my one big one. And also, just yesterday I was on a IG Live dialogue and Minister Tan Si Ling was on it, and we were talking about Korea. And then he said, it's not about the know-hows anymore, it's about the know-who. And I was like, actually that makes a lot of sense too, so it's about networking and putting yourself out there and having people know who you are as well.
Right.
So that's another tip that I think I would give.
Wow. So your network is your net worth, right? Basically.
Yeah, pretty much, I would say. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much again for coming in. I feel like, I'm a student right now listening to you and learning from you. I'm going back time, and it's just so much information for us, everyone to learn from, and coming up from, your experiences and all that, leading to where you are now.
Yeah.
It's very admiring and commendable what you're doing.
I hope the audience would enjoy this episode as well. But thank you for having me. This is really fun. And I hope to listen to more episodes of your podcast in time to come. Hopefully, better, bigger guests than me.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're always delighted. If you want to invite us to your new office for chill,
yeah, absolutely.
Happy to be there. So
I can't wait. I'm so tired putting the office together, but I'm so ready for it to be a social space. Once the COVID measures are lifted, but I imagine it to be a space to hang out, more so to do work. Actually, both. Might have to be both. Yeah, both.
So, I mean, obviously, you're everywhere on social media right now, and everybody, Joel is actually have moving to his new office, now renovating, and you're all waiting to see what cool vibe and office space that he's coming up with. And maybe you want to share with us anything that, any upcoming projects you would like to share, or anything at all?
So, it's a podcast as well.
Right.
One of the things that I feel like I've started to be more interested in is money, finance, personal finance, because I'm personally shit at money. So the podcast is tentatively called Help, I'm Shit with Money, and it will feature myself and possibly Corinne Low, who is another content creator. So both of us will host this podcast and we'll talk about the basics of money, which is honestly, when you hear about finance podcasts, you're probably intimidated by it because they're probably talking about investments and stuff when the rest of us don't even know the basics of finance. And I think that this show will be for the finance noobs. So I'm excited to do it because I am a finance noob, and it would be so nice to talk about finance without finance bros coming in and so I'm okay, let's do it. So I'm really excited for that. Hopefully it comes out properly soon. We are working on the show, so I think that's something I'm really excited about.
Well, I mean, I'm so excited about it as well because sometimes as artists, we sort of get so involved in our work that we really missed out on calculating on our finances. How do we do about in a proper way?
Correct.
Wow, that's a good topic. That just do keep us updated. We'll just plug it in. Do you want to let people know where to find you and all your amazing resources?
So my Instagram page is LimXJoel. That's LIMXJOEL. You can go to ZYRUP Mag as well. That's ZYRUPMAG. And I think it's the point of having the name ZYRUP is that you can Google it and everything comes out, right? So Google ZYRUP and everything comes out. So go follow and subscribe on everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you once again, Joel. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to AMT Talk with AMC. If you are listening to this on SoundCloud, do follow us there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to us. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at AMC_studios. Bye!